Welcome back to The Juggle is Real. I'm Andryanna, and if you find yourself maybe with a case of June brain like me, maybe you're a little more impatient, or you are very scattered, feeling emotionally stretched thin, or you're just kind of feeling like you're forgetting something. I feel like this month will do that to you. And it's not just you. I just got back from a work trip and I was trying to make myself a breakfast. I just got the kids to school. There's stuff all over the place, from various sports and like work stuff and outing in the kitchen. There's still breakfast in there, and I'm trying to make myself a healthy breakfast. I want to start my day off right. And my head is just spinning. I've got all things swirling around in a bunch of different directions. I'm making myself some eggs, and I crack the egg and I just crack it like just directly right into the compost. Like, just why even fry the egg when you could just pour the whole thing in the compost bin? So um, I feel like it's not anyone's fault or anything, but June is just one of the most mentally demanding months of the year for families. I will say, especially Canadian families, our American friends, you've kind of went through this in May, your last month of the school year. In Canada and maybe in other parts of the world, June is our big month because we've got, all of the school stuff coming to an end and just cramming every last final thing in there, and the sports stuff and the trips and the graduation and the volunteer and the teacher gifts and appointments and projects and, that pre-summer buzz. Everything's happening at the same time. And while all of the things might seem relatively small on their own, together they just create this monsoon, this massive mental load storm. And so today I do want to just touch on that and talk about why June feels so overwhelming and the research on that, and how we can become a little testy and reactive during this season. But I want to talk about how we can maybe lower some of that pressure and protect our energy, protect the energy of our family, so we can move into summer feeling a little better, feeling a little easier and more connected. Because, the goal here is not to just do it all and do more. It really is to help us enjoy these seasons a little more. So let's dive in for June.
This is the Juggle is Real podcast. I hope you feel seen, that you realize your worth, lighten your load, and prioritize your own needs. As we hear from leading experts and well-known faces in the wellness, entrepreneurship, education, and motherhood space, I hope you gain insights, proven practices, and learn actionable tools to help you enjoy the juggle of work, family, and everything in between, with a little less stress and a lot more ease, joy, and fun. Most of all, I hope you find what you need to simplify, streamline, and supercharge your own journey of better balance and self-love. Are you with me? Let's get started.
Okay, can we start by just calling June mental load month? I don't know, like with me and my three boys, June all of a sudden starts on the calendar and it's like this immediate switch. And it's not because of one event specifically. And I kind of laugh. I was on a mastermind call and I was, sharing in sort of a funny like way, but then it kind of hit me harder that in our family, we do a lot in the winter with hockey, and the boys play on competitive teams. And so there really is a lot of a commitment directed specifically towards this one direction. And it is a lot, and there is a lot on the go. And so for our spring, our summer months, once the hockey season is over for their like main teams, we've kind of made the decision to not do competitive sports during the spring and summer months, because it's just nice to have that quote unquote break. And then what I was realizing was, even though none of the boys are doing a competitive sport, playing on like a rep team in the summer, that just opens up all sorts of time to try everything else. So they still are on the ice. They still are playing hockey, a couple times a week. But on top of that, we've also got lacrosse, we've got flag football, we've got softball, a school team and house league team. We've got soccer, a school team and a rec team. We've got swimming lessons, and just like I'm like, wait a second, the schedule I think might be even more full. And there's just a lot of volume that requires our attention. And I'm talking about this end of school year thing because I feel like the emails have ramped up and the forms, and then there's schedule changes and reminders, and don't forget. And then you've got, the looming summer. If you haven't done any camp registrations, you might be out of luck, SOL at this point. But like, I just got a slip for a bake sale happening. So to sign up to volunteer to bake something. And then the year end gifts and the sports schedules and, the various equipments and rides, appointments, and you're still making lunches. You're trying to plan for your weeks and your summer and the anticipation. And then if you're like me, there's these moments where you open up your calendar and you realize that it's like, oh crap, like we actually have a lot of things on the go and you forgot to buy something or you need something. And there's the form that you didn't fill out. And then an event you completely forgot about until you get that final reminder that's landed with you, or someone's like, oh, by the way, I just got a message like, did you forget about tie-dye day because you didn't send in anything to be tie-dyed? And it's not a giant thing. It's like 1 trillion tiny bunch of little things that are just adding up. And of course, this is what leads to decision fatigue. Psychologists call it this decline in our ability to make decisions and regulate ourselves after making just so many decisions and choices throughout the day. And we are vulnerable as parents because we're making decisions constantly, because on top of all of this June stuff, it's like, okay, what are we having for dinner? And like, should I do this? Should I do that? And are we missing a registration date? Can we make that work? And your work schedule might be changing. And it's like, do we have the time, the money, the energy? And every little decision takes a piece of that mental bandwidth away. And so by June, most parents, like, we're operating like the bandwidth we've got left would not really run any type of electronic device. You're worried, your computer's running slow because you don't have a lot of bandwidth. I feel like we're at like a couple kilobytes here of energy. And so we can become more reactive at this time of year. My last guest, Shannon Kalinka, from Keep It Playful Parenting, she posted something like regarding ADHD and kids at the end of the year, and that there sort of can be this regression, and it makes so much sense. And the end of the school year is just so genuinely overstimulating, regardless of whether you have children with ADHD or not, whether you're talking about yourself or not, because there's all of the fun stuff, and it's this countdown to, oh, summer's almost here. But even like the fun and exciting things and the field trips and the graduations and the just anticipation for summer, it is dysregulating because your nervous system, we are already at full capacity, and maybe we are already dysregulated, and things are off kilter a little bit. The routine is changed for June. It's really ramped up, and that your routine's going to change for the summer, and so things are looking a little bit different. And regardless of any whether you're neurodivergent or neurotypical, it's exhausting. That unpredictability and that constant stimulation is really dysregulating. And so during these busy times, things that don't normally bother us can suddenly feel so irritating, like your kids, calling your name a bunch of times. And normally you can kind of just be like, oh, hey, buddy. Okay. I can hear you. I can hear you. They ask a simple question, or, someone spills something, or you like are running out the door and then you can't find the water bottle that you want to bring, or that email arrives from the teacher where you're forgot tie-dye day. And then you're just really frustrated, probably more frustrated than the situation warrants. But there is a reason for that because it's that cognitive load. And the research shows that when our brains are overloaded, we have less capacity available for our own regulation, to be able to just like emotionally say like, okay, let's take a few breaths, let's like calm things down a little bit, let's slow it down. But when our brains are carrying too much, patience because becomes harder, and like doing that little problem solving in the moment can be more challenging. Being more flexible or like being able to transition, it can feel tricky, and we become more reactive and more forgetful, and then we're just like feeling so stretched. And I do want to mention this, and I think it's so important because we interpret this as like, oh my god, I screwed up, I'm a bad mom, this is a personal failure. And we tell ourselves, like, I should be doing this better and I shouldn't be so stressed and I need to be more patient. And we beat ourselves up, but we are not failing. Like, we're just overloaded and there are too many tabs open. And so, like, everything is just slowing down. And so, this is June brain. This is June brain. We're trying to keep up with too many moving pieces. And so, you know, if we circle back to this morning's like egg situation and just literally cracking eggs into the compost bin, I was trying to remember, like, I was just mentally tallying, like, okay, so after school, the kids have school softball and then they have to head to their first soccer. So, what sports items do I need? And then I wanted to get in on a recording, and I wanted to take my walk. And it's supposed to be a really beautiful day, but it's going to get hot. And I want to be walking before it gets too hot, but I don't want to walk before eating because you're not supposed to be moving and exercising on an empty stomach. And so I'm thinking all of these things and feeling like I'm already 10 steps behind before I've even basically started my day. And so it's like nothing was dramatic or like terribly urgent, but I was like kind of irritated and I'm feeling like my brain is so full. And then I'm just like cracking eggs in the compost bin. And so we kind of are running a little bit lower on capacity. And that is a good distinction because once we realize and once we can recognize and become more aware of what's going on, we can be a little bit more empathetic and give ourselves a tiny bit of compassion. And then we can also move forward in a way that's going to maybe not stop June from being June, but make it feel a little bit better. So that's what I want to talk about right now. Before I do my walk, before it gets too hot, I want to collectively, all of us, make a pact to stop trying to win June, because yes, to a certain degree, there's not a lot we can change right now. The calendar is full. We are in it. There's a lot of commitments we have, and we do kind of just have to deal to a certain degree. But a lot of us can approach these busy times and these emotionally loaded times like the month of June like a challenge that we have to conquer. Like if we could just like do everything perfectly and hold it all together, then we'll somehow win. But what if that wasn't the goal? What if the goal was like, okay, June's gonna June, but how can we protect our energy, this resource? How can we try to support our family, support ourselves while we move through it? And, maybe, we've got the commitments we have, and maybe, the things are going to keep coming in from the school and the teams and whatever. But can we maybe try to prevent adding more events and more commitments, more obligations? Can we stop, just saying yes and ask, do we actually have capacity for this? Because there is research that shows that when we can reduce the demands, just reducing our own physical and emotional and mental demands, that can be just as effective as the coping strategies itself. Sometimes the answer is not like, I just have to do better and be more resilient. It's like, well, okay, what can I, in a very full and busy time, what can I not carry right now? What can I put down just for the next few weeks? And so it is a shift because you're not asking, how do I cram everything in? You're asking, okay, like what matters most right now? And of course, like there are going to be those things. Like our oldest is, having his like moving on ceremony. He's going from grade 6 to grade 7. So next year he's going to be in a new school. So there's going to be a little graduation ceremony. Like what matters most? And then, what can we let slide? Because what if it wasn't about doing everything, but just choosing to be a little more intentional with what's there? So, I mean, we can do this little exercise and pick out our priorities now. And it is something simple, but something that I definitely recommend and something I'm going to be doing myself is to choose your priorities for June. And if we can narrow it down to like, I don't know, 3 to 5 main priorities, that are tied to your values, tied to, what you think you're going to look back on 5, 10, 20 years from now, be like, oh, that was that, like that was the thing, And so it's not 30 priorities. It's not like, just like pulling your hair out, trying to like do everything. But when you look back on this month, like what do you actually want to remember, and what do you want your family to remember? What really does matter most? Because the chances are, you know when you're sitting on your porch and you're 70 years old, you're not going to be like, ooh, I just got the perfect teacher's gift and I wrapped it so nice and I wrote the like this 30-page essay for the teacher. Like, absolutely be generous, be kind, be grateful for the teachers, and definitely get them the gifts. They totally deserve it. But you're not going to think back 30 years from now and be like, oh, I'm so glad I like stressed myself out to the max and was completely exhausted over getting the gifts, or attending every single possible event that's been thrown at me, or checking every single box. It probably is those connection points. It probably is going to be like seeing your kid, get their little diploma, or like do the graduation, or the presence that you felt in like maybe taking a walk after dinner instead of trying to cram in a play date, and just like the family time and protecting your sanity. And you know, you might not remember taking the walk 30 years from now, but if taking the walk and clearing your head is going to allow you to be more present for those moments that are mattering, well, let's allow these priorities to guide our decisions. Because I mean, sometimes it's tricky. And I will say, like, I recently got an invitation for an event that's happening this week. That sounds awesome. Like, it sounds delightful. Something like, where I would get to meet some new people, have some connection with other women and do things that I actually enjoy, and probably have a great time. It happens to be coinciding with swimming lessons and lacrosse and hockey, and right at dinner time, and in a month that's really, really full. And so um, I do, and I have been prioritizing these moments of connection with women. But at the same time, if my priority for the month of June is, one of my main priorities is going to be the family time, well, then I do have to let things slide and say no to some of these things. So June can be this month that is sort of on the cusp, because we're not quite in summer, but we have the summer vibes. The summer vibes are slipping, they're sliding in. We know that, like the lazy, hazy days of summer are on the horizon, but we're not quite there yet. So I think one mistake that we can make as moms and just families in general is just assuming that summer is going to automatically feel easier. And it's like, if I can just make it through this very busy time, once the summer holidays hit, it's gonna get easier. But I would like to just mention that if we can start designing our summers now, then maybe we can build in the ease. Because having, just like barreling into summer after a very busy month of June without that intention, it can really become another source of feeling overwhelmed. Because that uncertainty, or just being like, yeah, we're going to wing it, that can create stress too. And having like a predictable family routine, having that rhythm can actually reduce stress and improve well-being for children and adults. And if there's any neurodivergent members of your family, like that's going to matter as well. And I didn't say like rigid schedule and like be drill sergeant and you have to have every single moment planned out, because that is not what summer's about, and I would definitely not be sitting here recommending that. But like going into summer knowing that there's going to be a rhythm, and I think there is a difference between having a schedule and knowing that there will be a certain routine and rhythm. So instead of having the schedule jam packed moving into the summer months and going from June being like, okay, either we need to have like the summer fully scheduled or we're just going to like wing it, maybe we're going to start thinking towards the summer months being like, okay, well, what if we have like a general sort of plan? So it could be like, okay, kids, have a little family chat at the dinner table, and it's like, well, what do we want to get out of summer, and what can that look like? So maybe it's like we're going to start the week and we're going to like go to the library on Monday mornings, and maybe we're going to pick out some books because we want to keep up our reading, or there might be some type of like rewards or like system for that. Maybe it's going to be going to the pool or going to the beach on Tuesdays, having our play dates on Wednesdays. So it's not just helter skelter all the time. Um, Maybe there is going to be a movie day in there, and it's not going to be rigid. It's not going to be like hour by hour, minute by minute, but something that is predictable. And then, maybe it is also interweaving like, okay, so just so we know, like boys, the mornings it's going to be like, here's what the plan is. Like we still have to make our beds, we still have to get dressed, we still have to have breakfast, and then it's going to be an hour of whatever it is, a chore, a reading, something like that. So it's not necessarily everything's planned out to the second, but it's something that's predictable, and it is a really good conversation that you can have right now. So like, what do we actually want summer to feel like? And then from those feelings of what do we want it to feel like, okay, what do we want to do? Do we want it to feel relaxed? Do we want it to feel adventurous, connected? Do we want it to feel simple, fun, slow? Because once you know how you want it to feel, well, it's a lot easier to make decisions that support that vision and support those values, because our kids remember things so much differently than we do. And as parents, we can put so much pressure on ourselves to create these elaborate experiences, and we think, oh, like if I just plan the perfect summer trip, this big special outing, or like a perfect curated moment, like then I know that I will have won when it comes to summer parenting. But if you think to your own childhood and what sticks out for you, or when I look at what my boys talk about from past summers, it's it's truly not like the elaborate expensive things. It's like, oh, remember you bought those certain that flavor of popsicles after our baseball? Like I love those. Like can we do that again this summer? Or remember like we had like that swimming adventure where we had to like circle around the lily pad and then do the canoe war, and like that was so fun, and it was like an off the cuff thing. Remember that campfire, or remember when we took that bike ride and we packed a snack and we went to the park? Remember the jumping on the trampoline and competition, or like like whatever it is. It's not like, oh, remember the time like you stressed out and you made like the perfect like themed dinner. It's like, I loved when we had pizza and just chilled and like watched a movie, or like we got to play road hockey and like remember mom scored the winning goal, like the simple things. And like this is, I feel like you're probably nodding your head right now. Of course, I'm not going to share this. I feel this way, but there is research on childhood memories that supports this. And it shows that children are far more likely to remember how they felt than like the very specific details, because connection leaves a much bigger imprint than perfection does. And like Hello, is that not the most freeing thing you've heard all day? And we keep coming back to this notion of presence matters more than performance. So we're in June, we're heading into summer. It's like this big like bridge we have to cross, and we have to do all these things to get there. But I think like this is the part that I hope really, really sticks, because when life gets busy, we often postpone joy. We think, okay, we just gotta like stick it out. We gotta like just plow through this. I have holidays in July. I will relax later. I'll be the fun mom once summer hits, and like after June goes, once things slow down, we can start to settle. But like another busy season always arrives, and summer's going to come with its own set of busyness and challenges and adventures, and yes, relaxation. But can we look for the pockets of joy now, even during these very full times? Not after. And if we look at research on positive emotions, it suggests that the small moments of joy help us build resilience during the more stressful periods. Okay, so during, like, we are in the thick of it right now, can we stop to smell the roses or lilacs or whatever flower is blooming in your city right now? It doesn't mean that joy is something we have to earn once everything is done and once the kitchen is clean and you've emptied the dishwasher, and like, no, can we look for it right now? And it's something that we need while we're carrying a lot. So it's like, okay, let's stop for the ice cream. I know the kids are going to get to bed 15 minutes later, but like, let's go get a sundae or a cone. Can we crank some tunes in the kitchen? Can we, like go for a little walk around the block? Or like maybe it is like having a campfire, or, maybe it is saying yes, even during a busy time, to go for a walk or have a coffee with a friend, just have a conversation with your neighbor in the driveway. Like, watch your kids be silly and just allow it, laugh with them. Like, just if something's ridiculous, instead of trying to fix it or clean it in the moment, just like give yourself that minute to laugh and have that tiny moment, because the tiny moments count. And the tiny moments, that's like what actually gets us through. And when you can look at your spouse and just be like, oh my God, this is ridiculous, and just laugh instead of getting angry, and it's tricky. And when you're tired and when your brain is constantly thinking to all of the things and you're cracking eggs in the compost bin, I know, I get it, like, so if there's one thing I want you to take away from this episode, let it be that June is Juning. June brain is real. And it can feel hard because you have to carry a lot right now. And the feeling of like your brain feeling just like so full it's going to explode, being stretched emotionally, maybe being a little more impatient or forgetful or feeling like you're 10 steps behind. I mean, you're not imagining it. This is a very real time. The mental load is extremely heavy. And as we head into summer, like, I just want us all to protect our family's energy as fiercely as we can possibly protect it right now. And amidst it all, let's just really focus on and be intentional with what we think actually matters. At the end of the day, when we're looking back in our rocking chair in our 70s, what are we going to think and what's going to stick out from this time? Can we lower the pressure where we can and leave a little bit of room for joy, leave a little room for connection and those tiny moments, and allow ourselves to be human? Because, our kids are probably not going to remember every tiny little event in school spirit day that was jam packed into the calendar, but they're going to remember feeling safe or having fun or just how they felt to be with us. And that feeling, it really is built into the ordinary moments. It's the getting to the practices, it's getting after school, it's sitting at the table, it's like still having a few moments to chat about your day at the end of the evening or right before bed, and having the popsicle, having the chat, the laugh over a silly thing, and just the little things. So I thank you so much for spending a part of your very busy June day with me. And if this is resonating with you, I would really appreciate if you share this with a friend, another parent, someone who might be feeling this weight of June, someone else who has June brain right now. And of course, if you're looking for more support, encouragement, and like the practical things that we can do to ease the pressure inside of real life, please make sure you are subscribed to The Juggle is Real so you never miss an episode. We are posting on YouTube now at The Juggle is Real podcast, so you can follow along wherever it is most convenient for you. And until the next time, please protect your energy, take care of yourself. The juggle is real. It is so real, but you do not have to carry it all alone. Take good care.